Welcome into the I-80 Boys College Football Show. As always, I'm Christian Hunt. I just work here, sometimes as a janitor, and that guy over there is.
A co-janitor. That's what I am. I got nothing. No, I'm Chris Vaca. Welcome in, guys. Pretty good, interesting week of college football last week. I feel like I say that all the time, but I am a big fan of college football, Christian. A few upsets. A lot of games that were close. Some teams that won and looked good. Some teams that won and looked like shit last week. But a good week nonetheless, my man. But how you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. Chris, my big question, are you ever going to take those sunglasses off?
No, hater blockers forever, man. Colorado's got to win 6 games.
Oh, man. Yeah, I guess it was a weird weekend last week. We didn't get a chance to do our recap show or anything like that. So, but like you said, Chris, some upsets happened. Some upsets didn't happen this weekend. Some surprising results happened as well. So,
absolutely, man. Absolutely. All right.
Well, Chris, let's kind of dig in here. We'll start off with a little UGA versus Tennessee, the preview. Chris, sticking with the theme here, why don't you tell me a little bit about my dogs?
Ooh, the dogs. Well, we know what they are, right? They're 10-0, number one rated team in the country. I think they should be. Absolute beatdown last week against Ole Miss, Christian. That had to make you happy. I know it did for my pocketbook. 52-17. Georgia did whatever they wanted to in that game. It was over after the first quarter. Like I said, man, what's there to say about UGA? We know about everything there is to know about them. Team seems to get better and better each week, Christian. That's a sign of a really good team, and that's been Georgia. They look miles better than what they did against Auburn, South Carolina to start the season. It's Georgia, man. Brock Bowers, man, surprised the hell out of me that he played last week, dude. He played 90% of the snaps. That has to make you happy, and the resident Bulldog fans happy. I love watching Brock Bowers. Funny story. I think I maybe told you this, but I got to tell it on air anyway, that a bunch of NFL scouts apparently called him. And by the way, this was out of his mouth. Said they called him, told him, hey, Brock, don't play. You're going to be a top 10 draft pick. He said, no, I play for UGA and I play for my teammates. And so don't bother drafting me, and hung up the phone. I thought that was awesome. You don't see a lot of kids do that nowadays. It kind of just says a lot of character, what type of character Brock Bowers has and what type of person he is, man. I love that. He's a hell of a college football player. No doubt in my mind, Christian, he will be an elite NFL tight end in a few years. Somebody's going to get a really good player there and a really good person. Christian, I don't have much more to add about UGA, man. If you don't watch football at this point in the season, there's something wrong. We know what UGA is. Why don't you tell me about the Tennessee Volunteers?
Yeah, you're going to let me get Brock Bowers in fantasy football, Chris. Go ahead. No, number one overall pick next year. Let's go. No, I think here's the thing about Tennessee. You kind of touched on Georgia and that dominating win that they had over Ole Miss last week. Vice versa here, right? Where a lot of people were picking Tennessee on the road at Mizzou last week. Now, you can make the argument it was on the road, but Tennessee got dismantled, Chris. I mean, they got dismantled in that game. Wasn't very close. The offense didn't really come to play in that game. The thing with Tennessee's offense is they want to kind of pound the rock on you, right, Chris? They want to lean on that run game. Jalen Wright's going to be their guy. They want to really lean on the run game here. The passing game has been a lot more, I don't want to say lackadaisical, but the passing game just hasn't been what they're used to, right? It's kind of been flipped this year. Still a pretty decent offense, I feel as if. They've kind of had to lean a lot more on their defense as of late to kind of carry them, right? So I do think Tennessee's defense much more improved. We saw what Georgia has done this year, and they've obviously grown, I think, tremendously on the offensive side of the ball. Can Tennessee at home stop them? We know Georgia has struggled this year on the road at times. Tennessee plays much better at home than they do on the road. And I kind of think that might have been a little bit of an impact on it, right? And I think that'll slightly play into this game here, right? I'll go ahead and give you my predictions, what I think is going to happen, Chris. Give me UGA 35, Tennessee 17.
Woo, we're close. I like it, but not as much as my score. I got Georgia dropping a 42 bomb on Tennessee. I got Tennessee at 17. Let's go, Dogs.
I'm starting to think that you maybe just copy me over here, Chris.
We don't talk about this stuff. I bet I sound like, it's kind of funny. I probably sound like I'm like this closet Georgia Bulldog fan. But I'm telling you, Christian, remember the start of the season, I felt like they were one of the best teams in the country coming into this season. So I think I might have lost you for a second there. I hope I didn't. I did lose him. Hold on here a second. Oh boy, I have to tell him to restart the old. See if we can get Christian's internet issues fixed here. But yeah, no, I got to admit though, Georgia's looked good. Probably one of the best teams in the country. Actually, right now, if I had to make a ranking, they'd be my number one currently, just with the blowout win last week against Ole Miss. Nothing against Ohio State. They beat a terrible Michigan State team last week, but Georgia beat a top 10 team by about 40. So I got to put them up there. There he is.
There we go. Got the world's shittiest internet provider over here. I don't even understand it sometimes.
No, you're good, man. You're good. At least we got the segment in there, so that's all that matters. I was just saying about Georgia, man. Like I said, I'm not a resident, Georgia Bulldog fan, but man, this year they look good, Christian. They've exceeded, I think, a lot of people's expectations. I know you thought they'd probably have a loss at this point in the season. They just continue to get better every week, my man.
No, I agree with you, Chris. I mean, they've just gotten better week in, week out. It's been, it's been great to watch. Really in years past, I mean, and not just years past, but just most teams, they would fold at certain points this year. You would have one or two losses. It'd be very easy. That's going to be an epic clash, by the way, when Georgia plays Bama, I think, in that SEC championship here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, last team to beat you guys, right? Which feels like 50 years ago, but you guys are on 26, 27 wins, something like that. God damn.
It's getting up there, man. You know what I mean? So if you just bet against Georgia all the time, you're eventually going to be right.
Yeah, and I keep betting with Georgia. So go Bulldogs this week. I already took the spread -10. Let's go.
All right. Next up,
oh boy, his internet is bad. Hey, Daniel, while Christian tries to get his internet fixed here, Washington has 17 straight wins. And that is impressive as well. I will say that. Daniel, while I'm waiting for Christian to come in, what's your thoughts on Oregon State this week? Oregon State's actually favored in that game, which is crazy to me, with 2 losses. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, unless you're the resident Husky fan. This while we're waiting here, really don't have much else to talk about until I get Christian back in here so we can roll on to the next game. We are talking about Washington and Oregon State, by the way, next. Yeah, Washington isn't getting any respect. I agree, man. I bet quite a bit on college football. I haven't bet on that game yet. I'm kind of waiting for everybody and their dog to bet Oregon State. So there he is. Holy shit.
There we go. You just talk about Washington not getting any respect for winning 17 straight.
Yeah. Daniel brought up a good point. I didn't realize Washington's won 17 in a row. I knew they won quite a few, but they've been on fire. They're 9-0, 10-0 this year. So
10-0, 10-0. All
right.
So here's what we'll do then to get started. You still hear me?
Yeah, you sound good, I think. So
makes one of us.
There we go.
All right, looking ahead here, a little Washington versus Oregon State preview here. So, Chris, I'll start us off. I'll take Oregon State's side of it here. Oregon State's defense, to me, they've played really pretty decent this year, man. Honestly, the game's at Corvallis. Obviously, we know they play much better at home. DJ, oh my God, Ukulele. I think that's how you pronounce his name, right? The ukulele. I'm not going to disrespect him that way. He's played pretty damn good this year, man. Very serviceable, right? Is he the best quarterback in the country? Absolutely not. But is he the worst? No, not even close. They're kind of another one of those teams. They want to run the rock on you, kind of like we were touching on Tennessee a little bit ago. They want to pound the rock on you, right? And they want to use that to set up the pass. They do a really good job at mixing both of them in. They've got a back there in Martinez that already has 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns on the year. So, I mean, they are going to do a good job at mixing it up here. This is going to probably be, again, at this point when you're Washington playing some of those top heavy teams out there, in the Pac-12 against Oregon State on the road, this is going to be a tough matchup for them, right, Chris? I'm going to kick it over to you. I want to hear a little more about Washington and what they're going to bring to this matchup for us.
Yeah, and you're not wrong. Oregon State's defense has been really good this year. It definitely has been. On the other side here, the Washington, we know what they are, man. They're 10-0. They've rattled off a shit ton of wins here. Daniel in the chat said 17 in a row. That's quite a goddamn few. A lot of teams in the country wish they could do that. The big win against Utah last week, it was closer than a lot of people thought last week in that win. But, for this game, I'll be honest with you, man. And I'm not trying to sound like a hater, but Washington is, to me, the last couple weeks. I know they had USC in there. They had Stanford, Utah, Arizona State, I think, after the big Oregon win. Kind of begging to get beat, in my opinion. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not, putting any respect on Washington, but they haven't looked as crisp, as they did the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. I think a lot of people, majority of people, Christian, thought they'd be probably the number 1 team in the nation after 5 weeks. I know we thought that for a while there, but it's a long season. So, excuse me. But I will say this. This game's going to be tough. This thing's at Corvallis. Believe it or not, Oregon State is favored in this game currently by 2.5, which is kind of nuts for a 2-loss Oregon State team going against a undefeated Washington team, Christian. I'm going to give you my predictions here, man. I have this one going to overtime. Give me Washington 34, Oregon State 31.
Give me Washington 28, Oregon State 21.
Damn.
Yeah, I think this is a magical season for Washington, Chris. I don't think that they're ready to lose yet. Right?
I think we're all talking about it, right? We want them to get to Oregon, right? I think that's kind of going to happen, kind of like Alabama playing Georgia, right? I think it's almost destiny, man.
Yeah, I agree with you. The Alabama-Georgia game, that's locked in. I just need everybody to take care of business, do what they need to do. Let's see the rematch here. That's about where I'm at with it. I look at, and that's the thing too. I know Washington's had, a rash of injuries and sickness and stuff like that, and but it's that's going to happen, right? That's going to happen in college football. The thing is they've survived to this point. You look at, and we'll talk about some other teams that have survived and weird fluky things have happened, and we'll kind of touch on that.
Absolutely,
a little bit.
Christian, bring your mic. Can you bring your mic a little bit closer? Yours is so sensitive. There you go. Perfect.
Well, not the only one that's sensitive on the pod. It's me, by God.
No, it's just funny because yours does that thing where it completely cuts in or out if it's not close to you. It's kind of weird. It's cool though.
Can you hear me right there? Is that better?
Perfect. Way better. Yep.
Okay. Penis.
Penis.
What? It will be close. Last time they went 10-0, they won the national title. Oh, 91. Okay.
Did you guys split that with Colorado? That was the last time they've done anything too. Wink, wink. No, I'm just joking. No, I think it's you guys split that one though. I think. No, they didn't. I take that back. I think it was Georgia Tech and Colorado split it in 90. I think.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Something like that.
Sounds about right. Looking at a little bit of Utah versus Arizona. Team of destiny here, Chris. Talk to me a little bit about the Wildcats.
Let's go, man. I actually had to dig into some of this because nobody talks about these guys, and they're probably up there for one of the more surprising teams this year. I'd say Louisville, Missouri, Arizona, man. Hell of a job this season, dude. 7-3 walk-off field goal against my Buffaloes last week. Big win for Arizona. Jed Fish, man, this guy's probably getting a lot of phone calls, I would assume, to be a head coach somewhere. I don't know anything about that. Doesn't mean he's leaving. I'm just saying this guy is done a great job with Arizona. If you guys don't know, he started there in 2001. 2021. He went 1-11. They kept him year 2 last year, went 5-7. They're 7-3 right now. That's pretty awesome to turn a program around in 2 years like that. You don't see that all the time in college football, that's for sure. So probably one of the head coaches of the year, I would assume. Offensively, though, AZ, we know what they can do. They rank 30th in yards per game. They rank 36 in total defense as well. So that's pretty good. They're a balanced team. They played a lot of good elite teams. The Pac-12 has been loaded this year. Noah, I don't know how to say his last name. Fifta, I think is his name. Man, the kid's top 30 in every stat. I actually looked this up the other day, Christian. He's up there. I mean, there's a lot of good quarterbacks in college football this year. He's producing, putting up some big numbers defensively, like I just touched on. Arizona's a pretty damn good defensive team, believe it or not. So I don't have a ton to talk about them. I did do some stat reading and stuff like that, but man, the kid. By the way, the kid's completing over 73% of his passes. That's at an insane mark for a college quarterback. That's up there with the Joe Burrows of 2019, by the way. So I will kick it over to you here, though, for Utah. I know you love these guys. You talk about them all the time. Let me know, my man.
Yeah, Chris. I mean, Utah, with the whole Cam Rising situation, we talk about this every week, but the whole Cam Rising situation all season was kind of the underlying storyline there, right? But the quiet thing is Bryson Barnes and then their other quarterback that they've got, Jackson. They've both kind of come in, or Johnson, sorry. They've both come in and been able to sort of steady the ship for them. I mean, they're quietly sitting at 7-3. Now, they're coming off of a disappointing loss, I feel like, to Washington, but they were on the road. They turned the ball over. You look at Bryson Barnes here, the pig farmer. He has 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and just almost 1,200 yards, right, Chris? I mean, he's going to have to call the Hogs in this one, right? That's a different program there, but basically same premise. Utah's defense, we know they're pretty good. I mean, here's the thing. The moral victory there is they held Washington's highfalutin offense out there to 35 points. They didn't give up 50. That tells me Utah's defense still pretty good. They're going to have to travel on the road to play Arizona this week. Can Barnes kind of elevate them enough, right? Can he do enough to kind of keep them in this game? That is my big question. If he can, fantastic. They're more kind of running back by committee. They got that safety that'll kind of get in there and kind of do some stuff with them on the ground too. My big question is, can they make enough big plays in this game to kind of hang around with Arizona, a team of destiny, dare I say, right? I'll give you my prediction right now, Chris. Give me Utah 28, Arizona in the upset 31.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Yeah, we're going to differ a little bit here, which is a good thing. I got Utah 27, Arizona 24, and it's a close one. This should be a good game, by the way. This thing, I think, is if I'm not mistaken, I think Utah's only favored by 1 on the road. So pretty much a pick'em game here, Christian. This is a tough one. This was a tough one for me to pick tonight. So I like it, though. I like that you're switching it up, going with Arizona. I wanted to pick Arizona, and I'm like, man, Utah coming off that heartbreaking loss last week to Washington, get right spot, maybe.
It's a get right spot, but it's on the road. And, Arizona has played really, really good this year. Thank God they're not the Arizona that bowl banned themselves. That, of course, was Arizona State.
After a 3-9 season.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Like, damn it, maybe we shouldn't have done it this year.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny shit.
Daniels, it's going to be close coming down to the last play of the game. I can see it. I can see it. I mean, they always play tight games and stuff like that, and that's what makes Arizona such a damn. They must see TV, right? Pac-12 after dark. I don't even know when was that game going to be played. That's a better question.
That is a good question. I can't answer that one. I think
I got you. Hold on. Here.
I think
1:30. Well, Pac-12 before dark.
Pac-12's been crazy this year, though, man. We say that every year, though. There's just so many good teams this year out there. UCLA, Arizona, Oregon State, Utah, all these teams with 1 or 2 losses, or 2 losses, I should say, basically, or 3 losses, all playing, trying to still do something in the Pac-12 unless Washington completely fumbles the ball. So
Looking ahead, your favorite topic to talk about here, Chris, Nebraska versus Wisconsin. Now, I'll start us off here, and I'll touch on the Skurs, if that's okay with you, sir.
Go ahead.
Here's the big thing. I got to do Nebraska a little bit of justice here. Weird game because apparently Heinrich Harburg, he got hurt last week, right? And Purdy got hurt, I guess, too, on that last play there that he was in. So it's Jeff Sims is going to probably be the guy that's going to go in here and sort of lead the charge, if you will. Chris, Nebraska has been sitting at 5 wins for what, the better part of the last 2 weeks now? 3 weeks, basically?
Yeah.
So trying to get that elusive 6 win. And by the way, Wisconsin, same thing. I know you're going to touch on them here in a minute. Both these teams are fighting for bowl eligibility. Wisconsin, to start the year off, probably wouldn't have said that with Luke Fickell. Nebraska, that's a whole different story. I think, Nebraska's defense has kept them in just about every game. I don't think they've really given up more than 20-plus points in a long time. I mean, probably what you have to go back to
Colorado.
Michigan.
Yeah, throw Michigan out. We were never going to beat them, but you know that.
Well, you know what they're going to say. They're going to say they cheated. I think they could have had. I think Nebraska could have walked over. I think Michigan could have walked over, handed them every play they were going to run, script, it gave them instructions. I still don't think it would have made a difference.
No.
Here's the reason that I'm saying that, Chris. Here's my whole thing. It doesn't matter who they've had at quarterback this year. They've turned the ball over at an alarming rate. You said it before we got on the show. They lead the nation in turnovers. When you do that, it doesn't matter how good your defense is, you're not going to give yourself a chance to win a lot of these games. And it's not like they needed to be lights out on offense either. They just need to figure out a way to put up 20 points. And hell, they would probably, if they could have done that, Chris, if they could have scored 20 points, especially, let's kind of scroll down here, they would have beat Maryland. They would have beat, arguably, Michigan State. And hell, that would have probably the first place they've been won.
Audio issues again there, Christian. I don't know what the hell is going on with this internet tonight. That sucks. I will add on to this, though, because we pretty much know where you was going with that with Nebraska's turnovers. It's a fucking problem. To add on, I'll click it over to myself here. Wisconsin. I don't have a ton to add about Wisconsin. You guys know this. They've lost 3 straight. They're 3-4 in the Big Ten, 5-5 overall. They need this win too. Luke Fickell's first year, I was ultra high on the Badgers this year. Boy, they just something's off with them. I know it's a new coach. I know it's a new team. I know Tanner Mordecai hasn't panned out. I know he's been banged up and hurt. They lost Chad Molesky. I get all of that. We still have Braylon Allen here and there. I know he's been banged up too, but Wisconsin's got to get it together, man. Wisconsin, though, I will say this, in this series, Wisconsin leads 12-4 against Nebraska. They have won the last, like I said, to start it off. Both teams need this to get bowl eligible. Christian, good to see you back. I am going to give you my prediction right now. There wasn't a ton to talk about Wisconsin. They're kind of similar in Nebraska in a way. But I got Nebraska 14. I got Wisconsin 21.
Well, I have Nebraska 14, Wisconsin 21 as well.
Jinx.
Owe me a soda there, bud.
Oh, man. Dude. I just, I didn't talk a ton about Wisconsin there, but because there's not much to talk about. We already know at this point what Wisconsin is. I finished up your statement about Nebraska and the turnovers, and it's Wisconsin leads the country basically in drop passes. Nebraska leads the country in turnovers. Both are very important things for your team and your offense, but man, it's just this game to me, and the reason why I'm leaning Wisconsin, Christian, is because Nebraska hasn't proven to me that they can hang on to the ball. We're at week 11? And it's every week they average 3 or 4 turnovers. You can't beat teams turning the ball over no matter how fucking good your defense is. It doesn't matter. Georgia, if they turned the ball over 5 times against Missouri, do you think you would have won that game?
Oh,
no. God, man, drives me nuts, man.
Well, the other side of it too is Heinrich Harburg. By the way, his QBR 113th in the country, Chris. 39.8.
There's 100.
He doesn't even have 1,000 yards passing yet. How many games has this kid played in?
All but 2. The first 2 he didn't play.
I mean, we touched on it before. I mean, Adrian Martinez, say what you want to about the guy. He was never going to probably be the elite thrower that you wanted him to be. But yeah, I just asinine to me, dude. Just terrible. Yeah, Chris, let's jump in here.
Yeah,
let's get to the last game here. Louisville versus Miami. Here, Chris, talk to me about the Hurricanes here.
Yeah, Miami. They are 6-4. Started the season off super hot. Big win against A&M. They have beaten Clemson this year. Excuse me. But then they've lost to Georgia Tech. We all know what happened in that game with Cristobal's brilliant call at the end of that game to lose it. They lost to NC State. I don't know what Miami is. Tyler Van Dyke was at times looking like one of the better quarterbacks in the country. Then there's times you watch him play, it looks like one of the worst. Last week they benched him, didn't even play him. They played this Williams kid, got hurt against Florida State. They were in that game, tied 10-10 at halftime. Miami had the ball at the end of the game to try to tie it up. Williams gets hurt. They bring in Van Dyke. What's he do? Turn the ball over. Game over. I don't know what Miami is. I don't know how much longer Cristobal has down there. But this game, believe it or not, Christian, Miami is favored in this one against a 9-1 Louisville team. So this is kind of an interesting thing. A lot of sharps think Miami's going to win this at home with their 13 to 20 fans that show up to their games there. But I want to hear about Louisville, Christian, a little bit. I kept it pretty short and simple with Miami. We're at that point of the year where we don't have to dig too deep into these teams. We know what they are. Let me know about the Cardinal.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, here's the thing about the Cardinals, right? Jeff Brom, the prodigal son of Louisville, coming back home. First season, after being at Purdue for forever, 9-1, right? 9-1, 6-1 in the conference here. Takes care of business this week at Miami. Got himself an ACC title appearance there, right? Which will be fun. That'll be a good matchup if they can do that, and they can play Florida State. Looking at this particular matchup, though, man, Plummer, Jack Plummer, man, he's been good, dude. 2,400 yards, 16 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. He's played really good. Thrash, their do-it-all wide receiver there from Georgia State, that transfer. He's been really good. The defense has played much improved. Last week they had a game against Virginia, a team that we've seen kind of knock some other, or was it Virginia Tech, I think, last week? Yeah, it was Virginia Tech.
Va-Tech, yep.
Va-Tech. That was a team that they were vying for second place, kind of right there in the ACC. They dismantled them 34-3. I mean, this is a team, Chris, that they just feel like they're destined. Now, Miami, like you said, Van Dyke is kind of having to take the reins back because the other guy they wanted to start, the young guy, he's hurt. So, I'll let you go ahead and give me the score prediction here, Chris, and kind of tell me what you think.
Yeah, and by the way, I was wrong, Christian. They played Virginia last week. It was a week before they played Va-Tech. They barely beat Virginia last week on Thursday Night Football or Friday night. I couldn't remember. So that was my bad on that. Go ahead and type it in the comments. My prediction for this game, I think Louisville wins this one, Christian. I got them in a super close one, 28 for Louisville, Miami 27.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was on me too. I was looking on my phone just back at the schedule real quick. Yeah, it was 34-3. But yeah, it was 31-24 last week. Louisville still, I mean, they're taking care of business. We touch on it all the time. All they've got to do, just keep winning. Just win this game, right? Chris, give me Louisville 35, Miami 32. I think it'll be a close game, though.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Chris, I got a stat for you here.
Yes, sir.
Do you know that Mike Norvell, the Florida State coach, has more 10-win seasons in 1 year at Florida State than Miami's had since, I think, 20 in the last 20 years?
Yeah, I do actually. Miami hasn't won a conference title since 2002. They haven't won a single ACC title since they've been there. You got to remember they came from the Big East back in the day. Yeah. Miami is a dead program. can't hear you, Christian. I don't know if you're too far from the mic. Maybe.
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay.
I didn't. I wasn't saying anything. I was just saying.
You're like,
they're dead. I was letting it sink in for a minute, man. I didn't realize that did we have a funeral for it or what?
No, we should. I think Miami's one of those teams that always does that thing like every other year where they look good like they kind of did this year. Everybody's like, oh my God, they're back. And then they do what they do every year, right?
Yeah.
I got a question for you about Miami since we're on that topic. Is Mario Cristobal in the hot seat?
We touched on this, right? We touched on this to start the show off. I think before we got on, we were talking about it. I feel like, obviously, to me, this feels weird to say, but I feel like Billy Napier is on the hot seat at Florida, yet Mario Cristobal doesn't seem to be on as much of a hot seat at Miami. Now, maybe I'm wrong about that, right? But I would think it's starting to get warm for him down there, for sure. I mean, but here's the other side of it, and this is why I think that I feel that way. Florida's won a national title in the last 20 years. Miami hasn't.
Would you say expectations are higher at Florida than they are at Miami?
I would say they're about the same. I just think that Florida, I mean, hell, dude, Florida was, what, 3 years ago? They were in the SEC championship game against Alabama?
Yeah, I think you're correct, yes.
With the Kyles, Kyle Pitts, Kyle Trask.
Yeah.
So, like you said, I mean, Miami has seen Pittsburgh, they've seen Georgia Tech, they've seen Clemson come to rise, and a couple of those programs have gone up and right back down in the latter with Georgia Tech. But to me, I just look at it from that standpoint of, I think Miami fans have had the Al Golden years, the Mark Richt, years there. I think they've just been so used to it now, they're not really phased. They're kind of in no man's land here. They're like, what do we even do? Right, we get the prodigal son and Cristobal, who's an offensive lineman for us here, back to right the ship, and it's like, what do you do? I mean, let me throw this out here, right? Deion's not going anywhere, not for a couple years, not till he gets probably Shadur Sanders to the league, his sons to the league, and I think Travis Hunter is kind of like a an adopted son to him is anyways. But once he gets those guys, doing what they're doing, what if Miami said, hey, you don't have any alliance to Florida State. How about you come down here and get us right?
That's an interesting take because he's a Florida kid anyway, or Atlanta, wherever the hell he's from down there. But man, you imagine him in Miami though, because of the recruiting hotbed, the flashy. You know how the Canes were when they're good, right? You guys all seen that 30 for 30. It's all show. He would fit perfectly there. And they would he'd bring all the fans back to watch games. Because if you guys don't, I'm not joking when I say watch a Miami game, they hand out free tickets. Like nobody comes and watches them. Nobody cares, right? Which is actually really sad. I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. The Dolphins fans don't even go watch Miami Hurricanes play. It's fucking weird. But I think you hold on to Cristobal another year. I don't think the expectations are as high as at Miami as they are in Florida. I think Florida has a massive fan base. The Gators do. I think they still hold on to Urban Meyer's, glory years with the two titles there. And like you said, they actually played for an SEC title. Wasn't that long ago. But yeah, two coaches to me though. I don't know if Cristobal's a head coach though. I don't. He makes some boneheaded decisions at times, and it makes me scratch my head. But then again, I could say that about a lot of coaches in college football lately, Christian. But interesting take, though. I will say that.
And that stat is not to put down Miami or Miami fans. I think it's more or less just it's indicative because, is Miami, are they a blue blood program? When you think about it in that traditional sense.
Not anymore, I don't think. I mean, Christian, they haven't won an ACC title since they've been there. I'm my thoughts on the blue blood thing, but is Nebraska a blue blood program? I mean, Miami and Nebraska are kind of similar in a way, even though Miami's been more successful. But
yeah, historically speaking, right?
Oh yeah. Miami's got what, 5 or 6 titles all time, something like that. They got a shit ton of them. They got one more.
Some of the best teams, some of the best players to ever come to the NFL. 100%. I mean, there's so many, like you said, there's so many things that were kind of for Miami that I feel like. It's just, where do you go from here, right? I mean, you're damn sure not going to go get Jimbo Fisher. No. You see how that worked out. I mean, Cristobal can recruit and do that, and you don't have to pay him as much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I agree with that. Jimbo Fisher, while we're on him, we'll flip it up. Do you think? I mean, I think he takes a year off or so. Just what seems like most coaches do. He's getting paid an ungodly amount of money to sit on his ass. He's going to coach again somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he'll take a year off, and then he'll end up somewhere. But I think he needs to take a year off. He needs to kind of get right, if you will. Right. Whenever you get fired and you're that high profile, just take a year off. Don't go be an analyst somewhere. Just enjoy yourself, dude. You got paid, what was it, $75 million? Yeah. I mean, just go enjoy it. Get your head right. Get back into it. Being a head coach, being a coach of any college sport, let alone college football, is so taxing because you wake up, you're recruiting 24/7, and then, right, you're trying to get ready. You're trying to study the other team. You're doing any and everything you can. I mean, it's one of the most taxing jobs, in sports that you can have is being a college coach. So if I'm Jimbo, I would take a year off, and I would probably look to see what there's got to be some other programs that will come available, right? If I'm a guy like Jimbo.
Fit. Find the right fit, whatever he thinks is the right fit, 100%. Because there's going to be a lot more openings coming. I mean, how many guys got fired this week? Imagine a year from now, right? There's going to be other people. Billy Napier might be out the door. There'll be a lot of openings. I still think like somebody will pay him a lot of money, Christian, to go coach somewhere. I do.
I could see it. I mean, we were touching on it. There's reports coming out too. There's a lot of high-profile coaches that could be available. Let's just put it that way in the next year, by next offseason, dude. Because think about this, right? Chip Kelly is rumored to be out the door. Like they're talking about he's already fired. They're just when it's gonna happen. It depends whether he beats USC this week. If he beats USC, they're gonna delay it. If not, then they'll probably just part ways with him right there, which is crazy to think. I mean, what expectations has UCLA had in the last 20 years in football?
None. And I want to ask you this question while you're on this. This one boggles my mind. What was their expectations for wins this year?
Yeah.
What did they think he was going to do? Win 10? In the Pac-12 this year?
I'm going to say this. The defense played a lot better than what I thought they were going to play. 100%. They lost a lot of pieces. I thought, okay, they got a freshman quarterback. He's going to put him in bad spots at times. He's going to make mistakes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And for the most part, that kind of happened. But, I mean, he put him in a position to win 6-7 games this year. You know what I mean? He could theoretically win 8 games, to finish the year off.
No, I agree. And I got to ask this is that if their expectations were that high, who are you going to get in there better to take over that program? Because UCLA has been dead in football for a long time. And I mean, honestly, the best years they had were back when they had like Troy Aikman and stuff like that. Like, I don't understand that. And then also, is this something else though behind the scenes that he's done? You know what I mean? Chip Kelly's kind of a controversial figure, man. He was in the NFL. Look that up if you do not believe me. I won't get into all that, but was it something else? You know what I mean? We've seen that with coaches before, right? Up front in the news, they say, yeah, I just didn't win enough games, but coming to find out all this other shit leaks out, right? That was maybe going on behind the scenes. I don't know the truth there. I'm just speaking here, but it surprises me when you told me that though, Christian. It really does. I thought they've had a good season. Chip Kelly's not really known always for great defenses. You got a true freshman back there. He's coming back, or is he going to transfer that Dante Boer kid? Is he maybe going somewhere else?
Well, that's okay. So he was committed to Oregon for the longest time. Bo Nix is leaving. Now they've got another good quarterback there beneath Bo Nix, but
wow, okay,
Dante Moore in that Oregon scheme, man, that might be a little something to look out for.
Yeah, Dante Moore, by the way, if you haven't watched him play this year, when he did play, he looked really good for a true freshman. Very few true freshmen play at Power 5 schools and are actually productive. There's not a lot of them out there.
That brings up another good question, going back to the whole Jimbo thing. I mean, what's that number one recruiting class? I mean, at Texas A&M, I mean, I would imagine they're all going to jump in the portal.
Yeah, they'd have to, right? I mean, who does A&M bring in, Christian? I mean, who do you bring in? I've heard Deion Sanders. I've heard Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning came out and said, yeah, fuck that. I ain't going there. I ain't leaving, which I don't blame him.
Yeah.
I mean, who did they get? Like who do you bring in? Do you bring in somebody from the Division II ranks? Caleb DeBoer from Washington. I don't know. I'm just trying to throw names out there. Like, I don't see him leaving either. But
no, I would if I was Daybor. I mean, he's got an opportunity to be one of the top programs in the Big Ten. I think when he comes over, that style of football, as long as they can replace Penix, I mean, I think they'll be okay. To me, right? I think it's got to be somebody big, dude. I mean, it's got to be like an Urban Meyer. I threw the name out here before we got on. Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney. I mean, somebody who's won a national title or is the best at what they do. A Jeff Lebby, Oklahoma offensive coordinator type, right? Like Jeff Lebby, I think last year was one of the hottest names in the market, and I think he still is. I think he still does a great job, but I don't know. I mean, Chris, you got to have somebody floating around out there that you're going to get, and I'd imagine they'd be pretty tempted to take it. I know Urban Meyer to Michigan State was pretty much a done deal, but this might change some things up here a little bit.
Yeah, I have a few things to add. If you're honestly a college coach, A&M offers probably more than almost 99% of college football programs. Their facilities, if you haven't seen them, top of the line. Money, they got that oil money down there. Obviously not an issue what they're paying Jimbo. Their fan base, fucking insane down there. The recruiting, you're in the hottest of hotbeds down there. That's why they always have a top recruiting class almost every year. They're every coach's dream if you can handle it, right? There's a lot of pressure, though, that comes with that, right? I mean, there's expectations that are set way up here with A&M. And, I keep saying this, which is kind of weird to me because I don't understand. A&M, we used to play them back when Nebraska was in the Big 12 all the time. I don't understand because they haven't won a national title since 1939. This isn't a team that's rattled off like Miami back in the 2000s and in the 80s and all that, or even Georgia of late or Bama. You know what I mean? Like they walk around, A&M people do, like it's like they've done something. Yes, they've had great teams and tons of talent, but they haven't competed for an SEC title game, Christian, have they? Since they've been there? I don't think they have. Even with Manziel, they didn't make it.
No.
So it's weird to me, but I guess long story short, before I kick it to you, is like they have everything you would want, like in a college program. Like they do. They have everything there. Money is not an issue. Fan base is crazy. Facilities are nuts.
They've got that Penn State syndrome, Chris. You know what I mean?
Kind of. Yeah.
I mean, where they're always like the third best, second, or best case, they're the second best team in their conference, right? It's always the second best coach in their best year, whether it's Nick Saban or Kirby Smart. They're always second fiddle. And really, I think what it's going to take, like you said, Penn State fans haven't done anything in a long time. They always get guys to the league. They're always talented. They always do what they're supposed to do, but they just can't win their conference. Yeah. Now, we're going to see how that plays out, you know what I mean, ultimately when they go to a 12-team playoff, right? But
yeah,
I don't know, man. I mean, if you're, like you said, if you're A&M, like, I'm not saying that Jimbo Fisher shouldn't have gotten fired, right? But my question is, now you're tasked with going out and getting somebody to replace him.
How does that work when you fire a guy 6 or 7 years in? You got to pay him still $75 million. Do you have to pay the next coach more than you just paid the previous coach? I'm just saying, it's a lot of money.
I think you put them on more of a prove it sort of deal. I mean, you can still offer somebody, a good right. contract. I'm not saying you got to offer them $75 million, but you can say, hey, listen, we're going to put you on a 2-year, like $30 million a year contract.
Right, and you got to win next.
Or sorry, 2-year, $30 million total. Like,
right.
Contract. Everyone's all about the fully guarantees now, right? But as we've seen, colleges can figure out a way to get out of that if they really want to.
True. You did touch on an interesting name real quick here. You talked about Urban Meyer. I mean, I've been hearing a lot of things about Michigan State. I don't know if that's true or not, though. So please don't quote me on that. But I've been hearing a little bit of that lately. Michigan State's a team without a coach. Northwestern is a team over here in the Big Ten without a coach. I still don't think Allen at Indiana is going to have a head coaching job after this year. I truly don't. There are going to be a lot of openings this year. Mississippi State, right? They're out a head coach too as well, right, Christian?
Yeah, Will Arnett, their defensive coordinator that was there for him for a couple of years. I mean, he's no longer there, so he was the coach, obviously, for Mike Leach, guided him through it. tough time there. But see other programs like that. Like I don't understand it. Like at least Texas A&M can pay people. You know what I mean? I'm not saying Indiana or Mississippi State can't, but the job's not as sexy. I feel like going to those schools is the other one. So, that's Arkansas might be an opening. Florida could be an opening. There's so many different openings we could see that could open up here. It's mind-boggling to me what's getting ready to happen. And I got a feeling you're going to see a lot of coordinators leaving, and that's going to make a bigger impact there.
Yeah, no.
Maybe maybe we could see Bill Belichick down here at this level.
Oh my fucking God! Don't bring up that name. Bill's probably he might be done after this year with the Patriots. There's no doubt about it, man. They got. I can't believe I saw the record yesterday. 2 wins.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Tom Brady did mean a lot to that program and team. Anyway,
it's rough out here, Chris. Well, anyways, I think this is a pretty good stopping point for us here in the show. So again, we will be back on Saturday for your Saturday morning preview show. We'll kind of look around the rest of the college football, kind of give our thoughts on it, and get ready to get after it here, Chris. I'll let you sign us out.
Yeah, no, appreciate the support, guys. I know it's a quick show tonight. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, South Carolina Gamecocks. How you guys doing this year? Rough season for the Gamecock, man. But no, appreciate the support, guys. And we will see you Saturday. We want to see you there, too. We're out.